Hi everyone. Welcome to English Story School. Today we explore the power of an idea. Sarah Blakely and Spanx, a journey that will change the way you think. Have you ever had a crazy idea? One so simple, yet so out of the box that it made you stop and think, could this actually work? Now imagine this. You're standing in front of your mirror, wrestling with an outfit that just won't sit right. The frustration, the endless fixes, the why hasn't someone solved this yet moment. What if I told you that someone did, and not only solved it, but built a billion-dollar empire out of it, starting with just $5,000 and a pair of scissors? This is the story of Sarah Blakely and Spanx, a story of grit, resilience, and the undeniable power of an idea. But let me warn you, this isn't your typical rags to riches tale. No, this is a story about you, your untapped potential, your crazy ideas, and how, with the right mindset, you could change the world too. Chapter 1. The Origin from Pain to Innovation. Sarah Blakely didn't wake up one day with a grand vision to change the fashion industry or become a billionaire. No crystal-clear roadmap, no genius plan. Her story began in one of the most ordinary ways. But isn't that how the most extraordinary journeys often start? Sarah wasn't just another dreamer waiting for life to happen. She was a woman stuck in a whirlwind of disappointments, setbacks, and the relentless pressure to figure things out. Picture this: a young woman in her 20s, shuffling through the mundane routine of selling fax machines door to door in scorching Florida heat. It wasn't glamorous, and it wasn't fulfilling. Rejection was her daily companion. Doors slammed in her face. Phone calls ending with cold, flat refusals. But amidst this monotony and frustration, Sarah carried a gift, an imagination that refused to be silenced by failure. Sarah had tried her hand at becoming a lawyer, following the conventional path that promised stability and success. But life had other plans. She bombed the LSAT twice. While most people might have seen this as a dead end, Sarah didn't let it define her. Instead, she found herself standing at the crossroads of disappointment and possibility, quietly asking, what if there's something else for me? That something else came knocking one evening, not in the form of a light bulb moment, but as a pair of white pants that wouldn't fit the way she wanted. Sarah was getting ready for a party, staring at herself in the mirror, feeling the all-too-familiar frustration of trying to smooth out her look. She reached for her pantyhose, an item women had been grappling with for decades, uncomfortable, impractical, and often ill-fitting. Desperate for a quick fix, she grabbed a pair of scissors and cut the feet off her pantyhose, slipping them on under her pants. What happened next was nothing short of transformative. The crude, improvised garment did exactly what she needed. It smoothed her silhouette without the bulk of traditional pantyhose. For the first time in ages, she felt confident, comfortable, and free. But here's the twist. Most of us would have stopped there, satisfied with solving our own little problem. Sarah didn't. As she stood in front of that mirror, something clicked. She thought, if this works for me, wouldn't it work for millions of other women too? This wasn't just a random idea, it was a solution. And here's where Sarah's story begins to separate her from the crowd. She didn't just notice the problem. She dared to believe she could solve it. But before we start imagining her success as inevitable, let's take a step back. The road ahead wasn't paved with gold. In fact, it was filled with more obstacles than anyone could anticipate. Sarah knew nothing about textiles, manufacturing, or fashion. She didn't have a business degree or connections in high places. What she did have, though, was the courage to ask questions and the grit to figure things out. Her first hurdle was finding a manufacturer who would even entertain her idea. Imagine walking into a room full of skeptical men who had been running their businesses the same way for decades. Sarah did exactly that, armed with nothing but her crude prototype, her vision, and an unshakable belief that she was onto something big. Most of them laughed her out of their offices. Some politely dismissed her, saying, "We don't see the demand for this." Others outright ignored her. But Sarah had one advantage. She didn't take rejection personally. Instead, she treated every no as a step closer to her goal. She kept knocking on doors, kept calling, and kept pitching her idea. Finally, she found a manufacturer in North Carolina who not only agreed to produce her product, but also believed in her enough to take a chance. That single yes was a crack in the dam, a small victory that would eventually lead to an unstoppable flood. Still, Sarah wasn't about to sit back and relax. The real battle had just begun. She poured her savings, all $5,000 of it, into creating a prototype and securing a patent. She spent endless nights designing packaging, writing her own copy, and crafting a brand that would resonate with women everywhere. And when it came time to pitch her product to major retailers, Sarah used the same tenacity that had carried her through rejection after rejection. Her first big break came in an unlikely place, the women's restroom. While waiting to meet a buyer at Neiman Marcus, Sarah noticed another woman adjusting her outfit in the mirror. She struck up a conversation, pulling out her Spanx prototype and explaining how it worked. The woman's reaction? Shock, excitement, and an immediate understanding of the product's potential. That spontaneous bathroom pitch led to Spanx landing on Neiman Marcus shelves, a pivotal moment that would propel Sarah's idea into the spotlight. But even then, Sarah wasn't done. She knew she needed more than just shelf space. She needed trust, visibility, and buzz. And so, she turned to grassroots marketing. She personally demoed her product at events, convinced women to try it, and even modeled it herself in ads. Every step of the way, Sarah stayed true to her vision, pouring her heart into Spanx while embracing every challenge with the same determination she'd shown from the start. Looking back, it's easy to see that the Spanx story isn't just about innovation or entrepreneurship. It's about resilience. It's about taking something as ordinary as pantyhose and turning it into a billion-dollar empire. Not because the idea was handed to her, but because she fought for it every step of the way. In that moment, standing in front of her mirror with a pair of scissors in hand, Sarah couldn't have known where her idea would take her. But she didn't need to. What mattered was that she acted. She believed. And she kept going, no matter how many times the world told her she couldn't. And that's where her story holds its true power. Not in the billions she earned or the empire she built, but in the unshakable belief that an idea, no matter how small, can change everything if you're bold enough to chase it. Chapter 2. The Climb. Turning no into watch me. When Sarah Blakely decided to chase her idea, she wasn't stepping onto a neatly paved path. No, she was walking straight into a labyrinth of doubt, resistance, and outright disbelief. Armed with nothing more than her scissors-altered prototype, a heart full of determination, and $5,000 in savings, Sarah embarked on what would become the most defining journey of her life. Her first stop? The world of manufacturing, where doors were closed before she could even knock. As a young woman with no background in textiles, she quickly discovered that this male-dominated industry wasn't exactly welcoming to inexperienced dreamers. Meetings were brief, responses curt. Executives sat across from her, confused and skeptical, their faces asking questions they didn't dare voice. Why does she think this will work? And worse, does she even know what she's doing? But here's the thing about Sarah. She wasn't intimidated by skepticism. She understood that every no was simply one step closer to a yes. So she kept knocking, kept pitching, kept hearing rejections. Over and over again, manufacturers dismissed her idea as impractical, frivolous, or just plain unnecessary. One even told her, "Come back when you have real experience." It stung. Of course it did. But instead of letting those words define her, Sarah used them as fuel. She didn't have experience, But she did have something even more valuable, an unshakable belief in her idea. And so, she did what she'd always done. She figured things out. She spent hours in libraries, poring over books about patents, manufacturing processes, and business strategies. She cold-called textile factories, enduring rejection after rejection, until finally, she found one willing to take a chance on her. That first yes was everything. It wasn't just a breakthrough, it was validation. But Sarah knew that getting a manufacturer was only the beginning. She now had to prove that Spanx wasn't just a good idea. It was a product women actually wanted. And that meant going all in. With no marketing budget and no team to rely on, Sarah took matters into her own hands. She spent countless nights perfecting her prototypes, obsessing over every detail from the fabric's texture to the waistband's fit. She tested the product herself, wearing it to work, to parties, even to the grocery store. If something didn't feel right, she went back to the drawing board. She wasn't just creating a product. She was crafting an experience, one that would make women feel confident, comfortable, and unstoppable. Sarah's determination wasn't just confined to the design process. When it came time to pitch Spanx to retailers, she didn't wait for opportunities to come to her. She created them. Her first big pitch was to Neiman Marcus, a high-end retailer that could make or break her fledgling brand. Sarah knew she had to make an impression, so she did something bold. She convinced the buyer to accompany her to the restroom. Yes, the restroom. There, she demonstrated Spanx in action, showing how the product transformed her look under white pants. That impromptu pitch worked. Neiman Marcus agreed to stock Spanx in their stores, marking a major milestone for Sarah's journey. But even that wasn't enough to guarantee success. Getting Spanx on his shelves was one thing. Getting women to buy was another. Sarah knew she needed to connect directly with her audience, so she went grassroots. She stood in department stores, demonstrating the product to shoppers, answering their questions, and listening to their feedback. She wasn't afraid to roll up her sleeves and do the work herself because she believed in Spanx with every fiber of her being. Then came a game-changing moment, one that many entrepreneurs only dream of. Oprah Winfrey, the queen of influence herself, discovered Spanx and fell in love with the product. She featured it on her coveted favorite things list, catapulting the brand into the national spotlight. Overnight, Spanx went from being a small, scrappy startup to a household name. But let's not oversimplify what happened here. Oprah's endorsement wasn't just luck. It was the result of Sarah's relentless hard work, her willingness to put herself out there, and her ability to turn every challenge into an opportunity. She didn't sit around waiting for her idea to take off. She fought for it every step of the way. Even with the newfound attention, Sarah didn't take her foot off the gas. She understood that success wasn't a destination. It was a journey. She kept innovating, kept improving, and most importantly, kept listening to the women who used her product. She knew that Spanx wasn't just about shapewear. It was about empowering women to feel their best, to embrace their confidence, and to conquer the world in their own unique way. And so, with each no she faced, Sarah didn't just push forward. She pushed boundaries. She proved that you don't need to have all the answers to start something great. You just need to believe in yourself, take that first step, and refuse to give up, no matter how many times the world tells you you can't. Today, Spanx is a global phenomenon, and Sarah Blakely is celebrated as one of the most inspiring entrepreneurs of our time. But her journey is more than just a success story. It's a testament to the power of persistence, the courage to be bold, and the magic of turning no into watch me. Chapter 3. The Message. Why this matters for you. Now, let's get real. You might be sitting there thinking, good for Sarah, but what does this have to do with me? Let me tell you everything. Because this story isn't just about a woman who built a billion-dollar empire. It's about you. Yes, you. The person watching this, the one with a head full of ideas and a heart full of doubts. Let's break it down. Sarah Blakely didn't have a foolproof plan. She didn't have millions of dollars in the bank. She didn't even have a supportive crowd cheering her on from day one. What she had was something far more powerful, a crazy idea and the courage to act on it. That's the part of her story that resonates most deeply. It's not about the product she created. It's about the resilience, the creativity, and the relentless belief that transformed a simple idea into something extraordinary. Take a moment to think about this. How many ideas have passed through your mind? Ideas that felt exciting, bold, maybe even revolutionary. But then, just as quickly, the doubts crept in. What if it doesn't work? What will people think? I'm not experienced enough. Sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone. Sarah had those doubts too. She didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs or have a history of business successes. In fact, she was failing at what she thought was her plan in life, becoming a lawyer. But here's where Sarah's story shifts from ordinary to extraordinary. She didn't let her failures define her. Instead, she saw them as stepping stones. Every rejection, every obstacle, every unanswered question became a challenge to overcome rather than a reason to give up. That's a mindset we can all learn from. So, why does this matter for you? Because there's a Sarah Blakely moment in your life. 2. An idea, a problem, or an opportunity that only you can see. Maybe it's sitting quietly in the back of your mind right now, waiting for you to take notice. Or maybe you've already dismissed it, convincing yourself it's too risky or too far-fetched. But what if you're wrong? Sarah didn't know if her idea would work. She didn't have the answers, and she definitely didn't have a roadmap. What she had was an unshakable belief in her vision and the courage to take the first step, even when she had no idea where it would lead. That's what made the difference. Not her circumstances, not her connections, but her mindset. And that's why this matters for you. Because if Sarah's story teaches us anything, it's that success isn't reserved for the smartest, the wealthiest, or the most experienced people. It's for those who dare to try, those who are willing to fail, and those who refuse to give up. Think about it. The world is full of safe ideas, the kind that don't ruffle feathers or make people uncomfortable. But the ideas that change the world, they're the ones that seem crazy at first. They're the ones that make people laugh, doubt, or even reject you. And yet, they're also the ones with the power to transform lives, starting with yours. Here's the truth most people don't tell you. No one is ever truly ready to pursue their dreams. There's no perfect moment, no guaranteed formula, no assurance that it'll all work out. Sarah wasn't ready when she started Spanx, and she certainly didn't have all the answers. But she did it anyway. She figured things out along the way, learning through trial and error, and embracing the messiness of the process. That's the mindset you need to adopt. Stop waiting for the stars to align or for someone to give you permission. You already have everything you need, the idea, the drive, and the ability to figure things out as you go. The only thing missing is the decision to take that first step. And let's talk about fear for a moment. Fear is the one thing that stops most people from pursuing their dreams. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. But here's the kicker. Fear is always going to be there. It doesn't go away. What changes is how you respond to it. Sarah could have let fear stop her at any point. When manufacturers laughed at her, when retailers ignored her, or when she invested her life savings into something with no guarantee of success. But she didn't. She chose to move forward, fear and all. What if you could do the same? What if you stopped letting fear dictate your decisions and started focusing on the possibilities instead? Because the truth is, the only thing standing between you and your dreams is the belief that they're possible. So, let me ask you again, what's your idea? What's that thing you've been too scared to pursue? Maybe it's a business. Maybe it's a creative project. Maybe it's a complete reinvention of your life. Whatever it is, know this: you don't have to have all the answers. You don't need a perfect plan or $1 million to get started. All you need is the courage to say, "Why not me?" Sarah Blakely's story isn't just an inspiration, it's a reminder. A reminder that the power to change your life, and maybe even the world, lies in your hands. All it takes is one idea, one decision, and the willingness to keep going, no matter how many times you hear no. So, what are you waiting for? Chapter 4: The Spark. Your turn to shine. Today, Sarah Blakely stands as more than just a billionaire entrepreneur. She's more than the founder of Spanx, a brand that has revolutionized the way women feel in their own skin. Sarah's true success lies in something far greater, proving to the world what's possible when you dare to think differently, act boldly, and believe relentlessly in yourself. But let's not stop there. Let's turn the lens back to you. You see, this isn't just Sarah's story, it's yours too. So, let me ask you something. What's your idea? What's that tiny spark sitting quietly inside you? The one you've been too afraid to ignite? Maybe it's an idea that feels crazy, impractical, or even impossible. Maybe it's something you've dreamed about but never pursued because the world convinced you it couldn't work. Here's the truth. The world needs your ideas. It needs your creativity, your perspective, your unique voice. And yet, so many of us hold back. Why? Because we let fear win. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping into the unknown. But what if I told you that fear is the very thing standing between you and the life you're meant to live? Let's break it down. Sarah Blakely wasn't fearless. She was scared, uncertain, and wildly unprepared at times. But she understood one crucial thing. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a sign that you're about to do something that matters. Instead of letting fear paralyze her, she let it fuel her. Every no she heard, every door slammed in her face, every skeptical look, it all became part of her story. A story of persistence, resilience, and unwavering belief in her vision. Now think about your story. What chapter are you in? Maybe you're still in the brainstorming phase, where ideas swirl around in your mind but never make it to the page. Or maybe you've taken a few steps, only to stumble and wonder if you're on the right path. Wherever you are, know this: your story isn't finished. You hold the pen, and you have the power to write the next chapter. But here's the catch. You can't write a great story without taking risks. You can't create something extraordinary without stepping into the discomfort of the unknown. Sarah didn't have a roadmap, a guaranteed outcome, or $1 million safety net. What she had was a willingness to try, to fail, and to try again. That willingness changed her life, and it can change yours too. So, here's what I want you to do. Take a moment to think about that spark inside you, that idea you've been sitting on, that dream you've pushed to the side. Now imagine what could happen if you stopped letting fear hold you back. Imagine the people you could inspire, the lives you could impact, and the possibilities you could create. Here's the thing. The world is full of people who settle for mediocrity, who let their fears dictate their decisions. But you don't have to be one of them. You have the ability to choose a different path. A path where you embrace your creativity, trust your instincts, and take bold action. Will it be easy? Absolutely not. But nothing worth having ever is. Sarah's journey wasn't easy either. She faced rejection after rejection, moments of doubt, and countless obstacles. But she kept going because she understood this. Success isn't about avoiding failure. It's about refusing to give up. So, what's stopping you? Maybe you're waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect opportunity. Let me tell you a secret. Perfection is a myth. If Sarah had waited for the perfect moment to launch Spanx, she'd still be waiting. The truth is, The only thing you need to start is the decision to begin. Here's my challenge to you. Start today. Take one small step toward your idea, no matter how insignificant it may seem. Maybe it's writing down your thoughts, making a phone call, or sharing your idea with someone you trust. Whatever it is, do it, because the smallest actions can spark the biggest changes. And when fear creeps in, and it will, remember this. Fear is a sign that you're on the edge of something great. Use it as a compass, not a barrier. Let it guide you toward the things that scare you, because those are the things that will transform you. Sarah's story is proof that one idea, no matter how simple, can change everything. But her story isn't finished, and neither is yours. You have the power to create, to innovate, and to leave your mark on the world. All it takes is the courage to start. So, here's my final question. What's stopping you? Whatever it is, let it go. Take a deep breath, trust yourself, and take the leap. Because the world is waiting for your brilliance, your creativity, and your courage. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, go turn your crazy idea into something extraordinary. See you soon.